Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're talking all about the periodic table. I know it's a bit of a different format than we're used to, but I really don't feel like writing the periodic table on the board a million times. It's also kind of easier for you to see it, a bit more color coded, kind of understanding these things. But yeah, we're going to be back on the whiteboard in the next video, but for now I want to kind of go through this. So this is the periodic table. Some of you may be a bit more familiar with it than others. But my goal is by the end of this video to have all of you understand it pretty much on the same extent. So looking at the periodic table, we know that we have all of these elements, all of these atoms that form this big giant blob of stuff. So looking at the periodic table, we can determine three classes of elements: metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. So our metals are going to be pretty much all of this stuff right there. And some of them are going to be metals like, gold, aluminum, silver, things that are more, shiny, like sought after, things like that. And there's also going to be metals like sodium, potassium, things that you just like that make salt, or that you use them for energy in your body, or maybe they react with different things or whatever, like they're in your batteries or whatever, but they all are metals. On the right side, we have what's called the nonmetals. So they can be solids, liquids, gases, plasmas, whatever, but they don't have the same characteristics as our metals. So we have things like oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine, sulfur, phosphorus, iodine, and carbon. Those are some of the nonmetals. Like for example, carbon can be a solid. Carbon fiber is a solid, but it's not metallic. We have gases like oxygen, nitrogen, helium, and we have things that are kind of in between, like neon, that makes the neon lights, stuff like that. So lastly, we have what are called our metalloids, and that's going to be boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, and polonium. So these things are going to have characteristics of some types of metals, some types of nonmetals. They're not really one or the other, but they are their own unique thing. And they make a staircase. So boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony, polonium. That's our metalloids. Everything else is going to be metal, non-metal. Next, we have what are called groups and periods. So periods are going to be these horizontal things. You can see they're all color coded. So giving us period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, period 5, period 6, period 7. They're all periods. They're all horizontal. They all have unique characteristics. An easy test question. Give me an element from period 3. And you would look at this and say aluminum, whatever one you want to pick. Looking at these two down here, we have group 6 and 7, and there's a blank space right here. And we look at the bottom, there's a group 6 and group 7. These are known as the inner transition metals, and there's these two spaces here where they would go and extend. If this were a way bigger periodic table, this bottom portion would be really, really long. But yeah, so now talking about our vertical groups, there are two types of groups. We have group A and group B. So group A is going to be like our true, real elements, and then group B is going to be our transition elements. So transition elements are just unique because they don't really have a set charge. They can have different charges. They have unique properties. But those are all going to be group B. So looking at our transition metals, let me get to make it a bit bigger. We have these right here. So group 3B, group 4B, group 5B, group 6B, group 7B. These three all make up group 8B, group 1B, and group 2B. So there's only going to be up to 8, and it only goes like that because if you look at the whole thing, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and these are all 8, and then 11 being 1, and 12 being 2. So those are our transition metals, 1 through 8B. Remember that 8 has the 3 specific units. And then group A is going to be our true real elements, and that's going to be 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, 5A, 6A, 7A, and 8A. So knowing the difference between group A and group B is very important. And lastly, within our groups, there's going to be some specific names for different types. For example, group 1A, this first group over here, is known as the alkali metals. Group 2A, right here, is known as the alkaline earth metals. Group 6A, starting with oxygen moving down, is known as the chalcogens. Group 7A, with fluorine going down, is known as the halogens. And then group 8A is starting with helium going down, is known as the noble or inert gases, meaning that they don't react. They don't switch any electrons up with other elements. They're just kind of them. They're very stable. And also down here, looking at these inner transition metals, we know that we have our, we know they're going to go in here, but they have specific names. Our top group is known as the lanthanides, and our bottom group is known as the actinides. This is because of lanthanum and actinum, the first 2 elements of each group, but they do have a specific name. Looking at the periodic table, we can kind of see some easy test questions that might come up. Maybe something like, oh, what element is in the halogens and in period 4? And if you're thinking about this, you'd say, okay, the halogens are group 7A, and then period 4 would be right here, here, bromine. That's your answer. Maybe they're going to say, oh, what is the give me one of the inner transition metals. And you have to say, okay, here are the 2 inner transition metals, you pick one. Maybe they'll say, what is the element on group 5A, period 7? And you'll say group 5A, period 7, moscovium. It's just some easy test questions, understanding how the periodic table works. But to go over it again really quickly, groups are vertical, families are horizontal. We have our A groups, which are the true real elements. Our B groups, which are known as our transition metals, are down here, inner transition metals that go within the transition metals. We have metals on the left side, metalloids making this little staircase, non-metals over here, and hydrogen. But yeah, I hope this does give you a bit more of an understanding of the periodic table. There are going to be some questions down below in the bio. Use those. It'll give you some more like test exam questions. Use those to study for your quizzes, for your exams, anything. Any questions you may have, leave them in the comments below. I hope this helped, and best of luck.